Toriyama, Toyotaro, I understand what you're doing right now, but I'll admit, I'm not the biggest fan of it. Before we have this review of Chapter 77 of Dragon Ball Super, please do me a favor and leave your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit the little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Now, let's get into it. What's up, guys? I got Pencil here, and here we are to review Chapter 77 of Dragon Ball Super, known as BARDOCK, Father of Goku, aka BARDOCK. We gotta make him nicer. But I have so many mixed feelings about this chapter, but let's not even get into that right now. Let's just hop into the chapter itself. So we open up, fresh round start, and we get to see Planet Cereal of 40 years ago. And this is like, it's interesting to see. I'm not gonna lie, like I like the community that we get like a little glimpse of. We get to see that this planet was co-inhabited by both a bunch of Namekians and a bunch of Ceruleans. I thought maybe Monaito may have been like a deity of the planet, like, you know how Kami existed on Earth and so on and so forth. I thought that may have been the case, but he was just like lost value after the planet was conquered. But no, apparently there's just a bunch of Namekians chilling here. I think, actually, now I think about it, they may have been established in an earlier chapter. I'm just not remembering when it was established. But regardless, it's interesting seeing Monaito like just living amongst other people, like actually living with more Namekians, more Ceruleans. It's interesting to see more Ceruleans in general. Like, this is a very good glimpse of the society that they lived in way before all this mess happened. And speaking of all this mess, we get to see, upon the night of a full moon, a bunch of pods crash into the earth. And as they open up, we get to see our favorite monkey men, the Saiyans, and they pop out and they transform. And honestly, this chapter, or like the opening to this chapter, where we get to see like the Saiyans being the ground level warriors and Frieza's men popping up, I think that's even some of. But then again, we know the BARDOCK, Father of Goku special isn't canon, so I feel like that's one of Dodoria's men, the one with the horns, but I may just be misremembering, and or it's just not canon anymore. Regardless, forgetting all canonicity and stuff like that, just focusing on the storytelling itself, it's often like forgotten how, at least by me, I'm not sure about everyone else, but it's often forgotten that this is legitimately what the Saiyans used to do. This is what Frieza's men used to do, like back when Frieza was the big threat ruling over a majority of the galaxy. He would literally just send out people to conquer, slaughter, enslave. Well, maybe not enslave. It looks like they're just killing them. Like the one shot that like really shook me to my core was seeing a scene similar to the one on Namek with Frieza, where he has all the Namekians piled up in one area with the elder Namekian cuddling all the children, and then they all just get blasted, torn apart by the Frieza soldiers, and they're just all dying and dead there. And Monaito, afterwards, he like stumbles up. And then the dying elder literally passes on the 2 Dragon Balls to him. And the interesting thing is, I guess, I wonder if this is like the transfer of the Dragon Ball's ownership to Monaito. Like, are they now tied to his life force instead of the elder's life force? Was Monaito always the elder? Like, what's going on here? I don't know. But I guess, once again, this is a very like packed chapter in terms of what's happening. But we see the Namekians, they obviously didn't fare too well. They all just instantly got squad wiped by a couple of Frieza soldiers. And then the Saiyans, I guess this is interesting to see though, because the Namekians and Saiyans, no, the Namekians and the Ceruleans are together, but mostly we see the Namekians taken out first. Like, they were segregated from the Ceruleans and thus taken care of separately. Meanwhile, now we just see the Saiyans like overwhelming and destroying and annihilating the Ceruleans. But the thing is, there's a certain one, like a certain Saiyan, that's sort of just like chilling, like just hanging off a not hanging off a tree, hanging off a gigantic like spire, which is interesting. Like, how tall are great apes? Because I know they're not like mountain size or anything like that, but it's always weird to see them like King Konging. I always just assume they're way bigger than that, but no, they aren't that big. So to see one hanging off a building, and this one that's hanging off the building, like, it spots somebody, a child running, and it looks like it's going in for the kill. I'm not gonna lie, like this great ape in particular, like, saw the child, heard the slam, and proceeded to drop off the building, stomp on over, and looked ready to commit the absolute atrocity of slaughter on a whole child. But apparently, just by seeing the child with its mother, the Saiyan's like, kind of feel kind of guilty about that. Like, he pauses, like instantly this Saiyan could have just been like blah, 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 and they would have died. Like, not gonna lie, like the Ceruleans seemed to, as Monaito notes, the Ceruleans weren't that many in number for one, and obviously weren't that strong. Like, none of them were doing any damage to the Great Apes. The Great Apes' armor isn't really even getting scuffed. They're just, wandering around, destroying the planet, as you do. And the thing is, we get to see someone. This guy looks like Dr. Giro with Granola's hairstyle. Like, this one cerulean that tells Flake? It may be Flack, it may be Flake, something. He tells him to aim directly at the moon, because I guess he realizes that the moon was like the trigger that allowed the Great Apes to land here. And someone goes in to try and stop him from destroying the moon, or at least maybe just trying to kill him. Maybe he doesn't know he's aiming for the moon. But Flack, being the G he is, not only manages to like leave a mark on the Saiyan's head, but he also manages to take out the entire moon. Well, that's not too impressive. Like, beginning of series, Piccolo can do that with a quick waits on, and of course Master Roshi did all the way back to Star Dragon Ball. But of course, still, like, that man annihilated the moon. Like, there's nothing left of it. He destroyed it in one shot, when that shot was like partially focused on a Saiyan, and then all the Saiyans revert, and we get to see who our Saiyans were. So there's some like randos here and there, like what looks like a really skinny Raditz with shorter hair, some other dude that looks like a knockoff Vegeta, this weird like mohawk having Saiyan. And the thing is, the Cerulean Flake, I guess, like, he's like, we got him now. And certain someone, like, is this supposed to be Nappa? I think it has to be Nappa. His hair never looked like that. Hold on, I'm gonna look up something from the Broly movie real quick. Okay, so it may not be Nappa, because not only is he not ever mentioned by name in this chapter, but also Nappa had a connected stash. Meanwhile, this dude seems to have like the stash part. Is that his nose covering it though? Like, I want to say it's Nappa, because it looks like Nappa in the face, but no, he has the parted stash, and his hair is a lot like Gohan's, ironically. So I don't think it's Nappa, because Nappa more so had the tough top and like a longer head. But who knows? Maybe that's just like Toyotaro's interpretation of Nappa. Regardless. But then again, Nappa, would he be working on a low profile mission with all these low class Saiyans? I doubt it. So I don't know. Like, it got me excited. Like, I was initially going to base the entire intro around Nappa, but I was like, oh, this may not actually be Nappa. So I held myself back. Here, all my Dragon Ball experts, please tell me if that's Nappa in the comment section down below. And we get to see that while everyone else has reverted, he manages to, well, not before we get to that. Leek, he took a little bit of damage. Like, he has a scar on his head, and this is Leek from the Broly movie that we see talking with Bardock in the movie. But it looks like that scar does stick around for a while. But the last man we see, the one we've been waiting for, is Bardock. And I kind of like this rendition of Bardock, but is it me or is his neck too long? No. Then again, no. I draw. See, that's the thing. That's my own artistic like nature clashing with Toyotaro's, because I draw like the chest and upper pectorals like a lot higher and closer to the neck, almost to the point where like you kind of don't have shoulders. But Toyotaro's actually drawing Bardock more anatomically correct than I would. So never mind. This rendition of Bardock is amazing. Like, the full body shot, as much as I'm a little bit conflicted on what they did with Bardock character-wise in this chapter, this shot of Bardock is amazing, especially in the old traditional Saiyan armor. It's very, very cool. But then, of course, we get to see that Granola's mom is like, I don't care whose father you are, gonna annihilate you right here and right now. She shoots and she misses. Like, I mean, maybe Bardock dodges. I don't see any motion lines though. Like, it looks like she just aimed and hit his shoulder by accident. But then again, he may have dodged. And she only does a little bit of damage. And I guess that's all she got, because she didn't even bother firing again. But Bardock isn't even really there right now. He's thinking back to a conversation he had with Gine, which is, I think this is technically, just like this is technically Bardock's first appearance was all the way back when he saw his grade 8 form in that chapter. But technically his appearance, then again, that's not the real Bardock anymore. Like, I don't know. That's not the same Bardock anymore. Like, the Bardock that got mentioned in that manga chapter all the way back in Original Z isn't the same. Like, this is a completely different character now. So, I don't know. This is the first appearance of Gine in, like, any sort of official continuation of the manga, I'm pretty sure. So, bada bing, bada boom. Like, that's kind of cool. If you like Gine, that's cool. I didn't really rock with Dragon Ball Minus, I'll be completely honest with y'all. So Gine, like, seeing Goku's mom is cool, but it's whatever to me. But I do like how we get to see like a little bit of a little bit, because we get to see how Bardock, he does care about, he cares about his family in a weird sense, like in the sense that, oh yeah, this is my flesh and blood, that's cool. But he literally is just like, oh, you gave birth. It's kind of crazy. That's why your stomach's flat again. Want to make another? Like, that's all that's on Bardock's mind. And I love how we get to see little baby rabbits sort of just like hanging out with other Saiyan friends. Like, this is a glimpse into the past that we so rarely get to see. And while I do believe other series do have much more interesting past in the Dragon Ball series, the Dragon Ball series still does have a really cool one. I would love to have a whole arc based around some previous time periods in Dragon Ball. So getting to see these little glimpses, like, this is interesting because it's a flashback in a flashback. Like, we are flashing back to Bardock and the whole, like, interaction with Granola's mom. How is Monaito explaining some of this, though? Nah, how is Monaito explain? I mean, I guess Bardock may have explained it to him, and he's explaining what it may have been like. Like, I get Monaito explaining his part of the story. But, well, this may just be like a flashback and he's explaining it differently to our main cast. So, pause on that. But regardless of that, we get to see that Bardock has come back and he happily decides to name this little baby Kakarot. And he's super happy with the name. And Bardock, upon looking at this mother defending her small child, is like, I can't kill another one. Gosh darn it. Like, if he just like aimed at the building and fired, he probably wouldn't have this moral dilemma. But after just seeing his own little kid, he doesn't want to slaughter another one. And that's the thing. It's a human reaction, which I'm fine with. Like, the thing about Bardock, even in the original special, is that he was always like, he was different, but in the sense that he like had compassion for his own people. Like, he didn't just like take the knowledge that, oh no, Frieza's coming to kill us all, and simply hop on a spaceship and leave. Like, he tried to rally his people together. He tried to bring them together. He went and fought Frieza even though it was a losing battle. Like, that's what that Bardock did. This Bardock is much more like a sympathetic extension. Like, he's allowing that same sort of care he had for his people extend towards all other people, as long as the situation's right. Like, I'm assuming, despite us not seeing it, Bardock did take part in some of the massacre. Like, there's no way he was just standing there hanging on that building, king honging for the entire night while everyone else there was doing stuff. He definitely killed some people. But in terms of like on the human level, seeing something that he personally relates to, he can't muster the will to like instantly execute these people like some other Saiyans would be able to. And Lee comes up and is like, yo, Bardock, we've got to roll out like the Autobots. And Bardock's like, I don't know what the Autobots are, so I'll roll out afterwards. I'm gonna keep checking for survivors. And I like how Bardock is like, he is smart. This is something that Bardock has been, even all the way in the original special. He's not a stupid guy. Like, when he comes up, he's like, okay, these two are here. Who else is here? Like, he turns on the scouter and he starts looking around. He starts scanning. But I wonder if like the communications are on, because he manages to have the scouter on all the way through, like not just detecting Monaito in the mountains, but getting there with Granola's mom and a sleeping Granola, and like he has a whole conversation with a literal survivor. Whoa, a literal survivor, and while the scouter's on and all that, and he has no fear of anything like bad happening. However, like, you can definitely argue he may have some, because he may have like turned the scouter off the moment he found Monaito. I'm not sure. This is a very interesting scenario. But then there's so many cool things in this chapter that I really enjoy. Like, seeing the society, seeing like these characters interact, seeing Bardock's more like human side out of his Saiyan tendencies and nature. And then there's also seeing Bardock legitimately just being like kind of impressed with the idea that Monaito could suppress his power. Like, Monaito was at a 5 and he jumped to 213. That's pretty good key control right there, especially for a Namekian under stress. But then we get to see that Bardock was carrying somebody, and he's carrying a little knocked out Granola. And like, I mean, trauma's a big thing. So I'm assuming Granola was already tired from running away and getting back to his mom, and I guess getting knocked out from seeing a great ape. But like, how long did it take them to get here that Granola just didn't wake up, and this man still slumped? And speaking of Granola, after Bardock hands Granola back over to his mom, Monaito's like, survivors? And the one thing this makes me question, right? Monaito, you have the Dragon Balls. Turumbo. Like, you could literally summon him, right? But I guess the only thing is, since Turumbo isn't like I will reach into this external magic nebulous power to revive all people, it's more so I will take something directly from you and provide a cost to give you something. Manaito didn't want to die for his people, so he didn't bother resurrecting anybody or like doing anything. But I feel like in the moment, like Namekian could have snuck away, summoned Turumbo, and been like, please take all survivors, Namekian and cerulean survivors, off this planet to somewhere safe or something like that. And it may have cost them like a leg or something like that. I don't know. But regardless of that, we get to see that Muesli, or Muesli, something like that. Muesli is with Manaito now, and she simply asks if they can take residence and safety with Manaito at the moment, since they have nowhere else to go. And Bardock straight up warns them like, okay, Frieza's coming soon. Keep hidden and off his radar, and y'all should be just fine. And the thing is, see, that's interesting, because last chapter, the translation said Bardock, but now it does say Bardock. This chapter's weird, but regardless of that, Bardock is like, well, I'm going to leave now, bye-bye, and we cut back to the present. And in the present day, we see that Granola's like, once again, having a whole existential crisis over the fact that the person that saved his life and allowed him to go on to try and take the lives of other people is a Saiyan. Like, I know that's got to be traumatizing, like, to have your whole life that was based on a lie suddenly shatter before you. So it'd be like that when it be like that sometimes, Granola. You got to hold that one. But on top of that, we get to see that, like, Manaito didn't have a reason. Like, Manaito, bro, like, I'm not sure if it would have curbed Granola's bloodlust, because he probably would have been like, okay, one Saiyan saved me, but the rest still gotta go, all two of them. But, like, in the context of, like, Granola being a full-grown adult, why didn't you tell him this earlier? He probably wouldn't have wasted 147 years of his lifespan so he could become the strongest to go do some things that he didn't really end up doing. Like, he did everything off of false context. And from what we see later in the chapter, it's not even like Muesli is like, don't tell him anything with her dying breath. She legit just dies. So there's no reason for Manaito to keep this a secret for so long and in such an in-depth way. Like, that just kind of seems mean. Like, not mean, but stupid. Like, you know, this impulsive hothead would definitely do better with a bit more information, probably a bit more context. He'd probably sympathize better with the Saiyans if he knew a Saiyan saved his life. And another thing this chapter goes on to imply is that Manaito didn't tell Granola how his mom died. And he proceeded to let Granola go work with the killers of his family. Huh? Like, I mean, to be fair, maybe Manaito doesn't know who Granola works for. I doubt Granola is like spilling all the beans on who he's working for, what he's working for, all that stuff. But still, Manaito, why? Like, even in the context of a 200-year lifespan, Granola, relative to a human lifespan, Granola is an adult. He's in his 50s in human years. And relative to his age, when we put it to our age, he's 25. Or at least around there. His brain is fully developed enough. You should have told him this pertinent, life-changing information. At least how his mom died. Fine, you don't have to tell him about the Saiyan that saved his life, because I'll contradict his entire worldview and make his like whole psyche collapse, as it's doing right now. But in terms of simply letting him know that, oh, by the way, the heaters killed your mother. Like, I feel like that would help. I mean, possibly Granola would have gone into the same bloodlust and gone after the heaters instead of the Saiyans. That may have been what would have happened. But we've seen that Granola, despite like hating people, like he hated Frieza for upwards of, let's see, 40 years ago. So upwards of 40 years. Let's say Frieza's been dead for like, I think like 13, or at least relative to the universe, he's been dead for around like 13, maybe 15-ish years. At this point, by the time of Modern Super. So that means Granola had upwards of like 20-ish years to go run the ones with Frieza, but he didn't do it because he's not stupid. So I feel like he wouldn't run the ones with the heaters because he's not stupid. So I just don't get it, man. Like, that was actually just an evil thing to do. Why would you do that? But enough of like ragging on the old man. Vegeta, how do you know who Bardock was? like maybe a good king knows his subject, quote unquote. But I mean, once again, it makes sense if the Bardock special was canon. That makes sense how he would know who Bardock is, because Bardock was like a Saiyan, not prodigy, but a Saiyan who was like rising up close to the level of the king after a while and was doing really, really good on missions and stuff like that. At least from what I remember of the Broly movie, Dragon Ball Minus, and what we were shown so far, like Bardock at best may have been like a squadron leader, but even then, going back to what Leak calls him, let me see. Going back to what Leak says. Nope. Bardock, sir, we've been looking for you. Mission's done. We have orders to pull out. Like, he just says Bardock, sir. So maybe that implies like some sort of superiority. But even then, Bardock being a captain of what is likely a band of low-level Saiyan warriors, I feel like that's not enough reason for Vegeta to know who he is. Like, there are tons of Saiyans. Vegeta, how do you specifically know this one? And we get Goku. Like, everyone was excited for Goku to have some big, deep, drastic reaction to Bardock. But as Goku himself says, I hate to say it, I was raised on Earth. I don't know anything about the Saiyans. And it's like, that's it. Even once he hears that Bardock was his father, like, the chapter just cuts away. It doesn't even care anymore. Just like, we get, Bardock's my father? Really? And then Granola's like, oh shoot, I've been trying to kill my savior's son. And we focus back on Granola, and once again Goku just goes into, I wish I knew a darn thing about my dad, but I still can't say that I do. Like, oh, I know his name was Bardock. Yeah, and that's all Goku has got. And Vegeta brings up a point that, like, I know a lot of people are gonna flip over this, and to be fair, I flipped over it when I first read it too. Like, in any case, this soft-hearted nature clearly runs in the family. Vegeta, shut up. But two, I mean, we don't have enough context for Dragon Ball minus Bardock, but I can sort of see what Vegeta means here. Like, if he's really out here sparing people because of sentimental reasons and stuff like that, when he's in the middle of a massacre, yeah, that's a bit sentimental. But the thing is, the reason saying the Bardock Father of Goku special works is that Bardock and at the time Goku's unknown mother were still like Saiyans in the most raw, destructive form. Like, Bardock didn't have any hesitation when he went to go kill Canas. Like, the only people he really cared about were his own kind, and he didn't even respect his own son because his son was a weakling. Like, that's about it. That's what makes Goku special, quote unquote. He hit his head and he became pure-hearted. But by doing all this, you're essentially saying, by making Gine a nice person and by making Bardock a decently sympathetic person, you're sort of like, not ruining, because, you know, Saiyans as a whole aren't just Bardock and Gine, but at least making Goku's direct lineage these nice people, it sort of ruins the entire theme of Goku, like, going against his nature and only accepting it when it comes to, like, those pivotal situations. By this logic, Goku's always been a Saiyan of this nature, because it's just in his bloodline, and that's nowhere near as interesting as Goku, like, going against the Saiyan ways in every single way possible. It does good for Bardock, I guess, because it gives him more relevance, but outside of that, it doesn't do good for Goku, which kind of annoys me. And then we have, like, you know, I guess Bardock, like, stayed here to get healed. Like, Mono comes in and heals him, and we get to see that he has the healing ability only for the Heaters to show up, and the Heaters are like, whoop, this is a nice planet, pretty good, we're gonna sell that bad boy later. And Granola, in all his genius, comes running out, and he's looking for his mom, as you do. I would also be looking for my mom after I had a nice long nap and watched my entire species get wiped out. But we get to see Granola just comes out and yells, "A Saiyan!" And I guess the Heaters heard them. Like, how far away are the Heaters? The Heaters are up on a hill. I know, you know, sound carries, especially in like an empty night. So they would probably hear something that doesn't sound like an animal. It sounds like words. So they turn and notice, and we see that Bardock tries to put up some sort of act to try and defend him after Mono just knocks Granola out. And this is something I also sort of don't get. Like, Bardock, you had enough time to get the robe, but obviously the Heaters to some degree can't really sense energy, because they didn't sense you. So why wouldn't you just have them run off? Like, why wouldn't you all just be like, okay, Muli or whatever, you go that way, Manahito, you go that way, and I'll go that way. One of you, I'll take Granola since I can carry him the easiest. Dip. We'll regroup here after they're gone. Like, the heaters don't seem to be able to track them naturally. So it seems strange. And then we get to see that as Bardock tries to get Manahito spared, this man elect is just like, man, forget this nonsense, and pops a cap in Granola's mom, like straight up laser cap, bada bing, bada boom, and she just drops. And I don't know why he stops there. Like, he literally just says, okay, I will shoot the only woman here, bam. All right, now Bardock, you take care of the rest. But Bardock turns around and just goes straight into like combat mode because I don't know, I guess his side piece was killed. But regardless of that, we see Gas leap in and he manages to like blitz and make a barrier and hold off. And then I love how their only reaction is like, man, that guy has some nerve for attacking us after we just killed someone. And we see that the Heaters are worried that they might have been eavesdropping and heard the whole Heaters conversation about wanting to take over Frieza. And the thing is, they go down to hunt out the people. Well, no, Gas specifically goes alone while Manahito and Bardock are like chilling out, trying to heal Granola's mom. But obviously Manahito's powers aren't strong enough for that. But then, apparently off screen, Bardock versus Gas happens, and Bardock won. So I guess Gas just must have gotten massively stronger over the years because that dude's doing good. And also another interesting thing to note, the Heaters, they don't look to have aged that much. Like, they must, despite 40 years having passed, the most that's changed is Gas now has symbols on his head, like the teeth on his forehead this time, and a grew beard. But other than that, that's it. And this chapter, like, it was alright. I'm not gonna lie. I know, but I like seeing the past. I like the connections. I think it's a little bit contrived, but other than that, and I don't like what it did to Bardock's character that much because I feel like it ruins Goku's character, like, indirectly. Like, as a cause and effect scenario, by making Bardock nicer, you inherently made Goku's legacy. Whoa! You inherently made Goku's legacy nicer, and that overall kind of like downplays the whole Saiyan nature versus Earthling nature, and the whole like I'll fight you as an Earthling rather than I'll fight you as a human narrative. But I'll fight you as an Earthling rather than I'll fight you as a Saiyan narrative. But hey, it'd be like that when it'd be like that sometimes. I'd still give the chapter like a solid 7 out of 10, just because I appreciate a lot of things that are in this chapter, like the whole references to the past, seeing of different characters, Bardock, stuff like that. Even if I don't like what they did with Bardock, seeing Bardock is cool and all. And it's cool to get more context, even though, Manahito, you're a terrible person. That's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off.